Hello, YouTube! What is up, everybody? Doomwake here. We're back with another modern video. As you can see, we're doing something a little bit different today. For those of you who have not played the modern format over the past couple of days, Cascade is sort of taking over the format. Cascade being a mechanic that was introduced in the Alara block, Demonic Dread, Violent Outburst, Ardent Plea, Bloodbraid Elf, all those cards. Basically, Cascade being a card that's you cast, allows you to Cascade, meaning that you flip cards from the top of your deck until you reveal a card with lesser converted mana cost. Now, conveniently, this deck in particular, is, in comparison to the other Cascade deck, which is Tibalt's Trickery, the other deck is trying to Cascade into Tibalt's Trickery, which Tibalt's Trickery says you can counter target spell, flip cards until you have a spell with a different name. So they Cascade into the Trickery, Trickery counters the Cascade card, they flip over cards, hit an Eldrazi, go from there. This deck in particular is abusing the ability to Cascade into Valki, God of Lies, which is a 2-mana creature, 2-mana 2/1, on the front half, and the back half is a 7-mana Planeswalker. Now, what the ruling is, if you cast a Cascade spell and you Cascade into Valki, God of Lies, you may cast the back half, which is Tibalt Cosmic Imposter, 7 mana normally, but you can just cast it for free off of your Cascade spell. So essentially what our deck is doing, as you can see, the only card that we ever Cascade into is Valki. It's the only card that costs less than 3 mana. Everything else is either fast mana. We have a bunch of lands here to cast our spells, obviously. We have some fast mana to cast this early, Gemstone Caverns and Simian Spirit Guide. We have our Cascade spells. And the rest of the deck is sort of... It almost feels like it's a prison deck of sorts, where you're using the fast mana to power out things like Blood Moon and Magus of the Moon, which in certain matchups can just sort of end the game on the spot, just not allow your opponent to play Magic. And it's another thing to sort of power out. Some decks just can't beat a turn 1 Blood Moon, and you have the ability to do that with your 8-mana accelerants. And then we also have some card advantage and filtering engines with Chandra, Torch of Defiance, and Seasoned Pyromancer. Pyromancer is especially good in this deck because it allows you to filter out extra Valkys that you can't cast, extra Blood Moons that you don't need, maybe Dismembers or Murderous Riders if those aren't, because these are sort of situational removal spells. If those aren't good, you can filter those away, and then just churn through your deck to make sure you always have your Cascade spell online. Chandra is something that I'm trying out today, and I haven't tried it yet, but it's been on the back of my mind, and I like the ability to sort of cast another threat pretty early. Chandra Torch of Defiance is, especially if you cast it on turn 2 or turn 3, it's quite a powerful card. If you can, maybe play it on an empty board, if you can maybe clear the way for your Chandra with a removal spell. And the other nice thing that Chandra does is it is sort of another mana accelerant. So if you just naturally draw your Valki, you get +2 mana off of the Chandra, which you can curve very nicely into, Chandra. Then the next turn, add mana, hardcast Tibalt. So you can sort of hardcast your Tibalt ahead of schedule. And then the rest of our cards, we just have a couple removal spells here. We, I think this deck specifically, its hardest matchups, the decks that it struggles with the most, are decks that present a lot of early threats. That's why you need things like Dismember and Murderous Rider to make sure that you can potentially clear the way for your Tibalt, because you don't really want to play Tibalt. If your opponent has 2 creatures in play and you have nothing, you play Tibalt, there's a chance that you plus it and it just dies and you don't get that much value out of it. It's not going to take over the game as it would if you played it on an empty board. So that's the other... That's what these are here for. Murderous Rider also, and very importantly, kills Teferi Time Raveler, which, when that card is in play, if you cast a Cascade spell, the way that Teferi reads, you don't get to cast anything off of your Cascade spell. So you want to make sure you can keep Teferi off of the board. There are quite a few Teferi decks popping up with, again, the resurgence of the Cascade mechanic with the introduction of Call Time. So it's nice to have some answers to Teferi, and then, again, just Dismember is a nice cheap spot removal spell to help clear the way early, kill a prowess creature, kill a death shadow, things like that. And then in the sideboard, we have some anti-creature cards, because, again, I think that decks like Prowess and Death Shadow are probably this deck's weakest matchup. So we have a full play set of Anger of the Gods, again, mainly for the Prowess deck, but you can also bring them in against Death Shadow because they kill Monastery Swift Spirit, Bomat Courier, maybe you can kill an early Shadow before it gets out of range. And then we have 4 other removal spells. Again, these are all coming in the Prowess matchup. The nice thing about these 4 cards is they conveniently all kill Teferi Time Raveler. So then, essentially, after boarding, you board up to 6 total answers to Teferi. So it's, you know, a lot harder for that card to just make it so you don't get to play Magic. And then the rest of our cards, we have 4 Mindbreak Trap. Again, the talk of the town at this point is Tibalt's Trickery, so we want to make sure that we have Mindbreak Trap to stop them, because essentially what they do is they cast the Cascade spell number 1, the Tibalt's Trickery is spell number 2, and then they put their big Eldrazi on the stack as spell number 3. That's the third spell you need for Mindbreak Trap, so you can just Mindbreak Trap their Eldrazi for free. So I think you need to play four copies of this card. And then again, remember, we can't play any card that costs 2 or less mana because of the fact that we always want to make sure that every single time we cast a Cascade spell, we always want to hit Valki, so we can always cast Tibalt. So that's the deck. I have played it on stream for the past couple of nights, by the way. If you want to go check out my stream, twitch.tv/Doomwake, I'm going to pop a link in the description below so you can go check that out. Be sure to follow the stream. I usually stream weekdays about 4 p.m. Eastern, but I've been playing this deck a lot on stream. We actually 5-0'd with it on stream last night, so maybe go check out the VOD after you watch this if you want to check out some more content on this. And the deck felt pretty powerful. So I'm interested to see. I made a couple of changes from the list last night. I added the Chandras. That's something that I've wanted to try out. But yeah, the deck felt pretty powerful. I think it's in a pretty good spot. And let's hope to see if we can kind of showcase this deck's true power. Remember, if you enjoy the content, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and I will see you in just a little bit for round number 1. And we are back for round number 1. Conveniently, we won the die roll. Now, I've been experimenting with choosing to draw with this deck because we have 4 copies of Gemstone Caverns. I do think you still want to be in the play because you have Simian Spirit Guide, just, you know, being able to... You kind of have 4 of each, so it's a little bit of, you know, a little bit of both. I would prefer to play, but I have been experimenting to choose to draw with this deck, so... Like, again, this hand on the draw... would allow us to cast it on turn 2. But it's kind of the same thing, right? Because we're going to get to cast it when our opponent plays their second land. I am going to keep this hand, for sure. Because we have turn 1, Dismember to clear the way. Turn 3, Outburst on the play. Definitely good enough. See what we are up against. Our opponent did not reveal a companion, so worth noting. Now, I will say that this hand is probably not going to be good enough against the Tibalt's Trickery deck, if that's what our opponent's playing. But, you know, I think this hand is... In the dark, I would definitely keep this hand. I'm going to lean on Blackcleave Cliffs in case my opponent plays a 1-drop. I would like to Dismember that because I want to Dismember their 1-drop in case I draw a Simian Spirit Guide so I can just slam up Valki. Looks like they are playing Elves. Definitely going to Dismember that. Alright. And hopefully we draw a Spirit Guide. Not a Spirit Guide, so we'll play Overgrown Tomb tapped. Fast turn. Hopefully they don't do anything too scary so we can... play Valki on a mostly empty board. We shall see what they have, though. They revealed an Elvish Warmaster. What's this card? 2 mana 2/2. Whenever one or more elves comes into play, make a 1/1, and then 7. Okay, sure, that's fine. Go ahead and take our turn. I drew a Murderous Rider. I'm still just going to play Valki. I'm just debating if I want to downtick. Let's see. What are the advantages of downticking? The thing about upticking is it goes to 7. If they play, you know, 2 or 3 elves next turn, they get a bunch of 1/1s. So I think it is worth just downticking here. And then if they play a creature, we can just oh, they accidentally have 6 their turn. That's unfortunate. So let's go ahead and uptick the Tibalt. See if we hit. Oh, that's actually nice. So now we can actually just play Warmaster and Dwynen's Elite and make 2 1/1s. That's hilarious. We get 2 1/1s off of that. And now we have a wide enough board that our Tibalt should be pretty free from most of what our opponent could possibly do here. We have Heritage Druid, which I am going to kill with Chandra, I think. Actually, it's better to Tibalt this. And then I can cast it and add mana. So you can cast this for colorless, because again, Tibalt lets you cast, spend mana as though, or any mana of any color. So now we go tap 3 elves. We have to play a red source so we can cast Chandra. Then I'm going to Chandra down tick on the Elvish Mystic. And then we'll go ahead and cast this Pyromancer. Alright, our opponent has had enough. Yeah, we just had a wide enough board where... I mean, it is unfortunate that they skipped their third turn, but I think that even if they had done that, if that was their play, I would have probably just went Tibalt, uptick, Chandra, kill the Heritage Druid. They would have had 3 mana, and I still would have had a good enough board that I don't think it would have mattered too much. So in any case, moving to sideboard, we definitely want these 4 Anger of the Gods. And do I want all of these removal spells? I don't think so. I think I'm just going to cut 4 Blood Moons. I'm going to keep Magus, even though the moon effects are not particularly great in this matchup. They do have a significant number of non-basic lands, like Giltleaf Palace, Cavern of Souls, so if they have a draw that has multiples of those, you can potentially catch them off guard, especially if they're not playing around it. Actually, you know what? It's probably fine to play the 1 Sinkhole. I don't think that these removal spells are particularly great because they're kind of mana inefficient, and they don't, like... Ideally, you want your removal spells to either be something like Anger that sweeps the whole board, or Dismember because it's mana efficient. It only costs 1 mana, similar to Sinkhole. So maybe I'll just trim 1 Magus for 1 Sinkhole and then just try that. I think I would rather just have Magus, even as just a 3-mana 2/2 blocker, than a 3-mana clunky removal spell, you know? Especially Beast Within, giving them another creature to attack Tibalt, and so on and so forth. So we're on the draw. Our opponent is Mulligan to 6. We have kind of a weird hand. So we have turn 1 Dismember, Anger. I'm not in love with this hand, but I think it's good enough. We do have to take a lot of damage, though, because we kind of have to fetch 2 red sources. So if I want to Dismember on turn 1, I have to fetch Shock and Dismember, so I go to 13. But I think that's okay going to 13, especially with the Anger. Looks like our opponent is mulled to 5. We'll see what they have. I'm sure they have some sort of hate spell on the sideboard, like a Damping Sphere or something like that. So maybe I was supposed to bring in Maelstrom Pulse for something like Damping Sphere. I am going to kill this Elvish Mystic, especially on a mull to 5. Again, we have to get a red source because of this Anger, and I want to get a black source because of the Rider. Nettle Sentinel. We drew a Simian Spirit Guide. So now I can just Magus them. Is that good enough? Get a Swamp and then Magus them. And then I can Valki after. That's my alternative play. Alternatively, I could just play Valki, but I don't really... I think Magus is probably good enough to cast them. I mean, obviously, if they draw a Forest, Magus is pretty bad, but then I can maybe just bait them into casting a bunch of stuff so I can Anger. So I think that's okay. Go ahead and slam Magus here. They missed a land drop. They only have 1 land. It's not a forest, so just take 2. Okay, we drew a Simian Spirit Guide. So now I can just play Pyromancer and discard these 2. I want to keep the Anger just in case. Now we have enough blockers to block the Sentinel, because our life total is a little bit in danger. Oh, okay, they've had enough at that point. Yeah, very... kind of straightforward match here. Game 1, we kind of just did our thing. Our opponent did skip their turn number 3 in Game 1, but again, I don't think it would have mattered because we were so far ahead anyways. And then, unfortunately, Game 2, they just mulled to 5, didn't play a second land, so kind of anticlimactic Game 2. But I hope you enjoyed the games anyways, and I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 2. And we are back for round number 2. We won the die roll again. We're going to go ahead and choose to play. Go ahead. So we got here 5 lands, 2 Blood Moons. Not going to be good enough. In general, I like to mulligan pretty aggressively, either to a Cascade spell or fast mana. Basically, my mulligan heuristics with this deck is like, if I either have turn 3, this on the play, well, maybe not this one specifically, because there might not be a creature in play to cast this card, or like a, obviously turn 2 or turn 1 Cascade spell, or just even like a turn 2 Blood Moon. Those are the hands that I generally like to keep. This one, specifically, I think this hand's actually kind of a trap. So, again, we have no fast mana, so we can't Cascade on turn 2. Even if we did have fast mana, our Cascade spell is Demonic Dread. There's not a guarantee that our opponent plays a creature on turn 1, so even if we draw a Spirit Guide, we might not be able to turn 2 this. There's not even a guarantee they play a creature on turn 2, so we might just not be able to do this. Now, granted, we do have Magus of the Moon, which, you you know, as far as moon effects go, it's definitely worse than Blood Moon, because there's, you know, your opponent can just lightning bolt this, even if you turn all their lands into mountains. This hand's really close. What do I want to do with this hand? Is turn 3 either one of these in the play good enough? And our opponent kept 7. You know what? I think I changed my mind. I think I'm going to try it. Ship this Gemstone Caverns. Lead on Stomping Ground. I'm not in love with this hand, but I think it's just close to good enough. We'll see how it pans out. Ancient Stirrings. Are they playing Amulet? They are. Alright, well, got paid off for keeping a hand that relies on Magus of the Moon. I'm going to play Basic Forest here, because if I draw a black fetch land, I want to make sure I have Forest Swamp in play before I cast Magus. Now, they may not have outs to Magus game 1 anyway, so it might not matter that much, but I have to discard. Let's see. And then, there we go. So now we can go Verdant Catacombs for a swamp, play Magus, and then we have Basic Swamp to cast Demonic Dread. So we get to, and we have a target for Demonic Dread next turn, which is also pretty important, obviously, because our opponent's not going to be able to do much, and then we're just going to take over with Tibalt, most likely. No reason to play a second Moon here. I'm going to Dread first, because if I hit a land off Tibalt, I want to make sure I can get a little bit more value off of the Tibalt. Let's see if, okay, I kind of had a feeling our opponent was just going to pack it in there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, turn 3 Magus in the play, good enough against Amulet. They had a pretty slow start too. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of part of the reason why I wanted to play 8 Blood Moons, because there's, again, some decks just have a really hard time beating Blood Moon game 1. As far as sideboarding is concerned in the Amulet matchup, these are the 4 cards I'm considering. As far as what I want to cut, definitely not touching the Moons. Not sure how good Chandra is in this matchup. I don't hate it. I could also see shaving a Pyromancer. Mostly just because their deck doesn't present a lot of creatures that can attack your Tibalt, up until the point where they cast Primeval Titan, and your Pyromancer isn't that great against the 6/6 trample anyways. I do think I want Maelstrom Pulse and potentially Beast Within. Single is a little awkward because it doesn't kill Primeval Titan. At least these 3 do. I think I want to keep the Dismembers because of Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Murderous Rider also can kill a Primeval Titan in a pinch. I don't know if I want to cut all the Chandras or cut like 2 Pyromancers in a Chandra. On the draw, I think I'll do something like this. Let's see how this goes. Maybe on the play I want all the Chandras and less Pyromancers, because Chandra is a little bit better on the play. But we'll see what happens. I have played this matchup a few times. Again, because you have access to so many Blood Moons and fast mana, I think this matchup is quite favorable, but I mean, obviously they have counterplay to Blood Moon after sideboard. Well, this hand is a turn 1 Blood Moon, so I'm going to keep it. I'm going to pitch Overgrown Tomb, I think. And then probably get, with the Gemstone Caverns, that is. I think I'm going to get, I mean, obviously I have to get either Forest or Swamp here. So I guess I can leave that decision. I want to keep the other fetch land. Yeah, so here's what I'm going to do. We're going to go Caverns, pitch Tomb, and then I'm going to fetch for a basic Swamp. And then if they have Blood Moon, I get to leave if they have an answer to Blood Moon, I get to leave the Catacombs in my hand to later down the road to potentially get either Forest or Swamp off of it. Yeah, I'm still going to do that. Let's get a Swamp. And I am going to play Blood Moon here because they sometimes have Dismember. And after this, what I could potentially do is just go Catacombs Magus to have 2 Blood Moons in play, and then I could play Pyromancer after the fact. Because I'm sure they have some answers in their sideboard to Blood Moon, so. And they have 2 Forests, so they can cast a 6 mana 6/6 on turn 6. Worth noting. They only have 3 cards, though, one of which is a Forest, so I think we're okay. Yeah, I'm just going to get another Blood Moon into play. Just want to make sure that I have, you know, Always have one in play. Now, they have Ancient Stirrings, which leads me to believe they most likely have Karn, the Great Creator, in their deck, because I think all of the Stirrings versions usually have Karn. So that is a card they could potentially cast next turn, which would be a little unfortunate. Because they didn't play an extra land after the second Explore. Worth noting. Do I want to discard the land, or do I want to have it in play? I think I'd rather have it in play. And I'm going to leave up Swamp, I guess. Doesn't matter too much. So discard Maelstrom Pulse. Again, worth noting they cannot Primeval Titan us next turn, because they only have 4 lands in play. Their Force of Vigor doesn't really do all that much, because we have, you know, Blood Moon and Magus. Drawing the Forest and the Pulse, actually not that bad. Because now if they have a 6-mana 6/6 or a Karn, I have an answer to both. And I also have the ability to cast Violent Upburst if I draw it now. Another Grazer, that's fine. And a Karn? Seems like a Karn. Okay, let's see what they're going to get. I assume they're going to tutor here. They might just get Walking Ballista. I think that would make the most sense to me. Unless they think they can untap with their Karn and they might get... Oh, they got Ensnaring Bridge. I don't know about that. That's very interesting, because even if they have a bridge in play for a million turns, I can just Tibalt exiles artifacts, so I'm not sure I like that. Maybe they don't have Ballista in their sideboard, but I would imagine they do. Like, even if they expect their Karn to die, it seems like they would still rather have a Walking Ballista there. Get to get in for a free point of damage. Like, our deck just doesn't really care about Ensnaring Bridge. Because we have Tibalt, which can exile it. We have other win conditions, like Chandra. I guess we boarded out some Chandras, but... I think in an average game of Magic, our deck does not care too much about Ensnaring Bridge. So we know that Bridge is their last card, which they're going to cast. We'll eventually find a Tibalt. Might be a little Drago here for a while, but kind of feels like we're still in garbage time. I guess if they draw a second Karn, maybe there's something they could do. But even if they draw a 6-mana 6/6, they can't attack with it because they have a bridge in play. And there's also 2 Blood Moons, so it's not like they're getting fields or anything like that, or Valaki, Dryad nonsense. And we have the mana to hardcast the Tibalt if we find it as well. Just need to find our Planeswalker. We have essentially 12 of them at this point. I guess I'll take another Blood Moon. Feel even more protected. No point in playing the Caverns here, because this is essentially a Lotus Petal, because we already have a Caverns in play, because they are legendary. So I'm just going to hang on to that for my 7th Manosaurus. I eventually find Tibalt. More O3s, which don't really matter. Let's see if we can find a Tibalt. Yeah, I mean, they kind of... Like, as you can see, their draw was just a whole bunch of mana and only 1 threat. We killed their 1 threat, and they... I mean, obviously, a lot of their threats just don't do a whole lot when we have Blood Moon in play. Dryad, Titan, all that stuff. So... we're just kind of chilling here. They draw 6-mana 6/6? They did. Yeah, I never really understood why the Titan decks have bridge in their sideboard, because, like, imagine if they just didn't have a bridge in play. They could start attacking with this Titan, and it might actually do something, but now it kind of feels like this Titan just does nothing, because they have a bridge in play. I guess maybe they could have Force of Vigor and answer their own bridge, but, you know, is that even really that good? Let's see if we can find a Cascade spell. There we go. I think I'm just going to go upstairs with Tibalt. I could exile Titan, but I also can't cast Titan because I only have 5 mana here. Definitely don't want to exile this bridge. Not yet, at least. Yeah, also the ultimate allows us to... Do I want to dread here? No. The ultimate allows us to start casting a bunch of explorers. We have 2 Maelstrom Pulses that we can cast off of the ultimate, so even if we just go upstairs, upstairs, and then ultimate, we get to Maelstrom Pulse the bridge and the Titan, and... Feels like it should be pretty easy from here. I guess they could, again, hey, they could have Force of Vigor. They have another Pact for another Titan. Oh, they got Tracker. I guess that makes sense. So they get to draw a card. But also can't attack. They can't play extra lands. Could potentially go down on the Tracker, but I still might just go up, honestly. Because I think that once I get to the ultimate, this game's going to be over. Do I have any artifacts to get in my sideboard with Karn? No, I don't. They do have another Karn. So I guess they can get Needle now? That could be kind of an issue. So my 2 pulses are gone. They got Coding. I guess Coding also shuts off Tibalt. No, it actually doesn't, though. Because if they upkeep Coding my Tibalt, I can just dread into his second one. And then I can use the second Tibalt to exile their Coding. I drew a Dismember. That's an answer for Tracker, which is pretty good. So, what do we want to do here? I want to go up or down? Definitely not going down in the bridge. Amulet doesn't do anything. As long as the bridge isn't played, Titan doesn't really do anything. So the only... Yeah, I mean, there's really no reason to minus here. I think it's better to just plus. Could also potentially hit, like, a Force of Vigor from them. How about an Azusa? Does that do anything? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with my extra land. I don't think that really does all that much. So let's just dismember the Tracker player on Primeval Titan. And then next turn we can set up the Dread into Tibalt. I guess if we exile the Coding, then they can just get it again with the Karn. It's actually kind of awkward. Very, very awkward. I'm trying to think of what the best course of action from here is. Guess I could potentially dread into a second Tibalt, exile the Tracker, start playing lands, and try and find my Beast Within, because my 2 pulses are gone. So I think I have to find Beast Within at some point. Because I'm not going to be able to exile to ultimate this Tibalt next turn. Alright, let's just... So if I did that, if I cast Dread, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, exile Tracker, play Tracker, play land, draw card. Yeah, but then I use my second Tibalt, though, and then I can't Cascade. Yeah, I don't like that much. I think I'd rather just do this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... Then just play Primeval Titan. Just hold my land drop still. We'll get one of each basic, because that's really all we have left to get that's relevant. No attacks to the Elemental. Yeah, we're kind of in a dicey spot here. I may have called this game a little too early. We shall see. May have called this game a little too early, chat. I say chat like I'm talking to my stream because I'm so used to streaming, doing this on stream. YouTube chat. You know what I meant. So I cast the coding. Makes sense. I mean, they're not going to blow up my lands, right? They have to... That's why I thought they were going to get Needle, because I thought they just wanted to Needle the Tibalt. I feel like that makes more sense. I'm not sure what they're going to do here. Yeah, I mean, I assume their only play, given the fact that they didn't get Pithing Needle, which makes me believe they may not have a Needle in their sideboard, is to upkeep coding my Tibalt so I can't use it. Yeah, so they're going to plus on nothing. They're going to upkeep coding my Tibalt. And that's actually a good play because now, again, if I Cascade into second Tibalt and minus on the coding, they can just get the coding again. So I kind of just have to find Beast Within at this point. All right. Actually, wait. What if I Demonic Dread their Titan? Cascade into second Tibalt and exile the bridge. So their Titan can't block. Exile the bridge, I get to attack. Can I kill Karn that way? No, Karn would go to 1. Demonic Dread their Primeval Titan. Titan can't block. Cascade into second Tibalt. Tibalt minus on bridge. I mean, that might be realistically my only play. I think that has to be what I have to do. Alright, so Titan can't block. Cast Tibalt. Keep this one. Titan is not allowed to block. Minus on the bridge. I have to get this Karn off the board. Because that's the kind of the tipping point here. Now, I am going to lose my Tibalt in the process, but... Attack Karn. So let's just get some random lands. Doesn't really matter. So they get to... Oh, they have a Dismember. That's not great for me. So now they get to block, block, block. Karn takes 1. Yeah, that's pretty bad. So Karn goes to 3. Now the question is, do I want to cast this bridge so my Tibalt doesn't die? I think I do. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's go this. Just because. And then I'll cast the bridge. Alright, well. It's kind of a dicey game. Because now they have an active Karn. They get to keep making me not be able to use my Tibalt on my upkeep. Now they have Ballista. See, I'm kind of surprised they didn't get Ballista the last time. Because that made me think that they didn't have it, but... Because that was the situation, the first one where they got Bridge. It didn't really make sense to get Bridge at that point. I don't know why they got Bridge. Because I just assumed they would have got Ballista. To kill the Magus. Need to find a Beast Within. They're going to Ballista my Tibalt. That is fine. Drew a Beast Within. The issue is... Now we have to kill Ballista. And they still have a Karn. If I don't kill Ballista, it's just going to take over the game, so... Let's do this now, I guess. Kind of have to. But now I am out of removal spells, right? Because I didn't bring in the Sinkhole. They're going to kill Magus, which is fine. I still have 2 Blood Moons. I don't particularly care about that. Alright. Pass turn. Because now even if we hit a Tibalt, or a Cascade spell, well, I guess we can cast Tibalt. Not really doing much with it. So I guess now they're going to start blowing up lands. I guess they can just start blowing up basics and cut me off of being able to cast Cascade spells. That could be pretty bad. Yeah. I wonder if I just have no way out at this point. Okay, I drew another Cascade spell. So I think what I have to do is downtick on their coding, because if they brick, let's say they don't draw another Karn, they minus the Karn to get coding, and it just doesn't do anything anymore. Yeah, I think I have to get I mean, obviously this is really bad if they draw another Karn, but I think this is realistically my only play. Just exile the coding. I know they can get it again with the Karn. Oh no, because I can just cast it. They can't get it with the Karn, because I can just put it into play. Yeah, so this is fine, actually. Because I forgot that I could just cast it immediately. But I need them to not have the coding in play. I know I can't activate it, but that's not the important part. It's them not having access to it is the important part. So maybe they have a second ballista that they can Karn -4, and that would kill Tibalt. I can't imagine they have a second coding. They don't usually play 2 codings. They chose to... What did they do? They plussed on something. I'm not really sure what they plussed on, but... Alright. Let's go upstairs with Tibalt, because we can't go downstairs. Boros Garrison. I guess I'll play that. And cast another Blood Moon. Just going to keep casting these two. No reason not to. So now they can downtick on Karn, but again, I don't know what they can get. Because their coding's gone, their ballista's gone. I don't know if they have a second ballista. I guess they can get Needle now. 3 green. Okay, Dryad doesn't do too much, I don't think. Oh, Dryad does do a lot. So now they get to explosives on 3. Which does kill their Dryad. But am I dead? I don't think I'm dead. It's not great for me, but... Are they choosing to not do it? Huh. I wonder what waiting accomplishes. So what happens if I downtick on their Primeval Titan and just cast another Titan? Because they don't have a Valakut in play. I guess their last card could be another Titan. Or... I'm trying to think. I could minus the Tibalt on explosives to force the issue now. If I did that, because then I could attack with my Primeval Titan. So let's say I force the issue. They blow up the explosives. I lose the Moons, the Bridge, the Pyromancer, the Spirit Guides, the Azusa. It's not very good. If I steal their Titan, play a Titan... And then if they pop the explosives, they would lose their Dryad, and they wouldn't really have much left. Yeah, I think we actually have to do that. I think that's actually... This is actually the scariest card. I guess their last card could just be another Titan, but... What a very strange game. Just get some lands. Doesn't really matter which ones. And do I want to cast the Pyromancer? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I play this Caverns. I'm trying to think if I can... 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I draw land, I can bring back one of the Pyromancers. I think that's worth it. Keep this Caverns. Play this Pyromancer. Because they're going to pop the explosives. But then I can just do this. Keep this. Play Cliffs. And then if they pop the explosives, I get to bring back one of the Pyromancers. And pass. This has been quite the wild game. And they're still not popping the explosives. Interesting. I guess I might just deck myself. That's also a possibility. How many Valkis? I have 1 Valki left. Okay, after this Tibalt, excuse me. So they just plus the card and pass? I wonder what they're trying to set up here. Okay, that's an interesting draw. Well, we're going to plus Tibalt because we can't do anything else with it. I really want to hit a Karn off of them. Murderous Rider. Play this Breeding Pool. I guess I just upkeep, kill the Karn. Because I don't want to play I don't want to play more 3-drops into the explosives. Yeah, and then what I can do next turn is I can force the pop on explosives with Tibalt because I now can minus Tibalt. So I'm just gonna upkeep, kill this Karn. And then we'll go from there. Oh, and now I can... Oh yeah, now I can actually activate this coding. Right. So... Is there a reason to activate coding now? I don't think so, right? But again, I can force the issue on the explosives. Which I think is good for me. Because now they have to do it now, and then I could just get to play more Blood Moons and another Tibalt. So what I'm gonna do is float mana from the fetch lands because I don't think I can. Yeah, I don't actually have any fetchable lands left, right? 1, 2. I guess I have an Overgrown Tomb, but I'd rather not fetch here. And that's good. So we'll float mana from that. Everything will die. And they have 3 Grazers and a 3/3. So now we can go... Demonic Dread, 3/3 can't block. We'll cast our last Tibalt. We have our 4th emblem. Now, let's go. I guess I should have played the Blood Moon first. Sure. Cast the Blood Moon. Definitely should have done that first, but they're going to float a bunch of mana. They're activating Slayer's Stronghold and their Grazer. Okay. Now let's play another Blood Moon. I should have ticked up with the Tibalt first, but... Play a Castle. Play Murderous Rider. Oh, that we actually have to tap 2 black for. I tapped this Swamp. Oh, because I needed... Okay. Okay, I forgot that... For some reason I thought you could cast this because of the Tibalt. Alright, I guess I'll just attack with 2 Titans. I have 17 cards in my deck? I don't think I'm worried about decking. They have another Dismember. Okay. That's fine. They're... Oh yeah, I guess they're 2/3 can eat one of the Titans, but... Let's get some lands. Let's get some lands. So I guess they're going to double block. It's fine. We have Pyromancers to get back to. Not too worried about being able to close out this game. What an absolutely wild game. Like, there are some games with this deck that you just, you know, play Tibalt on turn 1 or turn 2, and the game's not very close from there. But then there are these kinds of games where they're just, you know, absolutely crazy. There's been a ton of back and forth this game. So this is, I think, the highlight of the Tibalt deck. I know that there are some low lights for sure, and there are some games that are not particularly interesting, but this is one of those games that has been pretty absurd. Alright, so I'm just gonna stop messing around here. Just get rid of their 2/4. I don't know if they're dead, but I don't need to tap black for that. Okay, 3/3 can't block. Attack you with all my creatures. So the 0/3 blocks that. It's 9. They go to 1. So they weren't quite dead, but I don't think they have any outs at that point. Yeah, what an absolutely wild game that was. Again, as I was saying before, there are some games that aren't very interesting with this deck. You know, play turn 1 or turn 2 Tibalt or Blood Moon, and the game's kind of not very close from there. But I feel like that game there was a lot of back and forth. There were definitely spots in that game where I thought I was pretty far behind. I ended up drawing the beast within, I think, was what almost kind of sealed it at that point. But yeah, that game had a ton of back and forth. And for those of you who are interested in decks that have the ability to close out the game very quickly, but also can play a very interesting and intricate game like that, this is definitely for you. I know that was a long match, so I'm going to stop talking. I'll see you back here in just a little bit. Round number 3. We are back for round number 3. We won the die roll, so we'll go ahead and choose to play first. We'll wish our opponent good luck. Those of you who watched that last game, oh boy. If you didn't see, if you're tuning in just now, go check out that last game. That game was crazy. Our opponent showed us a Yorion. I don't know what to think of that, but I think I'm gonna keep this hand. It's kind of doesn't really do much besides casting. I mean, obviously it's just a turn 3 outburst, but I think turn 3 outburst on the play is a keepable hand. But I could definitely see mulliganing this. I'll play Blood Crypt first. I guess I was supposed to play Blackleaf Cliffs because if I draw a second fetch, again, I kind of want to put 2 fetches into play. Yeah, I did kind of get punished a little bit because I could potentially draw Blood Moon down the line, and I want to have one of each basic. So we'll see what they're up to. They revealed the Orion and played a Triome, so maybe 4-color. Unclear. Just gonna fetch on my upkeep. Just get a forest. Just gonna play Cliffs and pass. There's a good chance they have a Mana Leak. I can just Tibalt at instant speed. If they cast like a Growth Spiral or something, make them have Force Negation. I think it's definitely worth doing that. Alright, so I'm going to respond to that. Cast a Tibalt. See if they have the Force. Looks like they do, which is a little unfortunate, but no, they don't. Okay, I am okay with this. Blooded Strand. So now they're going to get... I wonder if they're playing 4-color or just Teamer. They are 4-color. Okay. So maybe just 4-color control with Yorion, could be. That's fine, because we already have a Tibalt in play, so I can live with that. Alright, let's go ahead and go upstairs with Tibalt. See what we hit. Field of Ruin. Nothing really going on here. I guess I'm just going to fetch another Swamp. Not really any real reason to use the field now. Probably want to save it for Field of the Dead or something along those lines. Get an island, because they know we have Blood Moons. Makes sense. They have an Omnath. They do have an Omnath. Okay. Fortunately, we do not have a removal spell for that. Might be able to Tibalt minus on it, depending on what they do. So they can cast, what, Hour of Promise here? And that would be able to trigger Omnath. Earl would be able to, too. Abundant Growth. Okay. And then Yorion to hand? Plus the Fairy. Yep, Yorion to hand. So let me read the exact text on Yorion. It's you control and own. Okay, so they can't exile an Omnath if I steal it. So the Spirit Guide was actually kind of nice, because now I can trigger the Omnath 3 times. So now I can go... I guess they could have Path to Exile. But we can minus on Omnath. We can cast this Omnath. And then we can go... Can't really do much with the mana, though, unfortunately. Go... Can put their Teferi to 2, though, which is not unreasonable. Gain 4. I do want to deal 4 to their Teferi right now. So grab some swamps. But again, I can't really do much with the mana, which is unfortunate. I can't cast this other... I mean, I'm allowed to cast Demonic Tread, but it doesn't do anything because they have a Teferi in play. So I'm just going to pass. We have a Tibalt on 4. They can't Teferi bounce their own Omnath. If they play Yorion, we can just exile their Yorion, which is not bad. And that's why I wanted to exile the Spirit Guide and play 2 fetch land and have 2 fetch lands there, because I wanted to be able to deal 4 to the Teferi so they couldn't minus it and bounce their own Omnath. Which is, I think, what their intention was after I exiled with Tibalt and played it. But now they can't do that. They could have a second Teferi, I guess. But their Yorion doesn't do a whole lot here. So I can just exile the Yorion. Okay, that's a little bit worse for me, because now they can tuck their own Omnath. Or I guess they could tuck Tibalt, but no, they tuck their own Omnath. Makes sense. Let's see what we find here. Another Tibalt. Alright, let's go upstairs. How about a Seasoned Pyromancer? Do I want to Valki their Yorion? It's not bad. I guess I could Pyromancer first, and then we can reassess from there. Let's do it this way. We'll discard a Caverns and a Cliffs. I found a Blood Moon, which is not bad. Because Blood Moon means they wouldn't be able to cast Yorion unless they bounce they killed their own Teferi. So let's actually do that, I think. Let's play Field of Ruin. Yeah, Field of Ruin and Blood Moon. And then we'll just pass. So now they can't cast the Yorion, unless they want to bin their Teferi. And if they want to bin their Teferi to cast the Yorion, I'm okay with that. Because then I have access to... I mean, I guess I just have more Tibalts in my hand at that point, but... I also kind of want to shut them off of Cryptic Command mana, which I think is important by playing the Blood Moon there. I guess they might just have more Teferis in their hands, so they're probably okay with... Oh, I guess they can... How does this work? No, this is layers, right? Pretty sure this is similar to Dryad in the sense that if I play the Blood Moon after the growth, it just turns into a mountain. I think. Not 100% positive, though. But in any case, see what they do. So, I mean, I guess they... Yeah, if that's how it works, they could, again, bounce the Blood Moon, cast the Yorion. But if they do that, then I just go Tibalt minus on the Yorion, attack your Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. So that's not very good. I guess they can exile their Teferi. So then Teferi would go to 2. But then I could Yorion, blink the Seasoned Pyromancer, draw 2 more cards, which is probably pretty bad for them. And again, I just have more Tibalts, too. Feeling pretty good in this game. even though they have Teferi in play, so I can't Cascade into Tibalt, I can just start hard casting them because I'm already on 7 mana. So I don't particularly care about that much. I decided to plus. And they're just going to pass. Or they are going to cast... That's not a Yorion. Is this a Shark Typhoon? Might be a Shark Typhoon. Or is it Yorion with Bolt Up? It could be Yorion with Bolt Up. Okay. So they're going to blink the growth and then put the growth back on the Hallowed Fountain. And then again, I think with layers that land would tap for any color. So I guess they could also have Path. Yeah, Path would also make sense. Because they can attach it to the Hallowed Fountain, give them white mana. And they attach it to a tap land. Oh, right, because they untap 2 lands, so it doesn't matter. Sure. I see. So now they have Force of Negation up. That was their plan. Well, I am still going to do this, because that's happening no matter what. And then I will attack their Time Raveler, I think? 1, 2, 3, 4. Because then I can go Chandra, add 2 mana, play Yorion. Yeah, let's attack their Time Raveler, I think. Because I would much rather... Well, no, I guess they can... I'd rather have them bounce the Blood Moon than tuck the Blood Moon. So let's attack the Hero of Dominaria. But I assume this is getting... Oh, it's not getting pathed. Okay. Alright, so I guess they could have Force of Negation for Chandra. And then I wouldn't be able to play the Yorion. It's risky. I think it's worth it, though. I guess that would make sense why they did this the way they did. Maybe I'm supposed to just cast Yorion there, so I can just pressure both of their Planeswalkers. They did not have Force. Because I assume if they had Force, they would have cast it. Blue, this. Maybe they have Mana Leak and they want to counter the Yorion? And remember, you don't want to blink Tibalt because it would come back as a Valki. Although I think they're going to leak this anyways, sure. Okay, so they didn't have Force, they had Leak, which makes a little bit more sense. Because they couldn't leak the Chandra because they could have just paid for it. So we both have 2 Planeswalkers in play. We both have a whole bunch of cards. Although a lot of my cards don't really do that much. So this game's close. See, these are the games that I find so enjoyable with this deck. You know, obviously, as I was saying in the last match, there are games where you just, cast the Tibalt on turn 2 and the game's not very close, but these games are much, much more interesting. They have red and 6. Tapping red-green, so it smells like a red and 6. Teferi up, sure. What are they casting? Omnath, maybe? Hopefully they cannot trigger that 3 times, because that would kill my Tibalt. But I guess, yeah, and then I wouldn't be able to Chandra minus either, because the Chandra would be at 2. So hopefully they don't have an arrow here. Or a Spiral, for that matter. Red and 6, okay. That is acceptable. Let's see if they have the Growth Spiral or the Uro. They still have green mana with the Triumph and the Growth. So they might still have that. They don't. Unless they're doing an end step and they just want to use the forest. Okay, now they're discarding. That's good. That is very, very good for me. Okay, so now I have to figure out how I want to go about doing this. They're on 7 cards. Do I have... I do not have a fetchable land with this Misty Rainforest, worth noting, or the Field of Ruin. So I don't have any fetchable lands, so I cannot trigger this Omnath this turn, which is unfortunate. So that would have been pretty good if I could trigger this Omnath multiple times. Which leads me to believe that I should probably just minus the Chandra and go upstairs with Tibalt. And if I'm doing that, I should probably go upstairs with Tibalt first. I'm trying to think here. I could Blood Moon first. All right, let's Blood Moon first. Let's see what they want to do about this. Okay, they're forcing the Blood Moon, which is fine. So they potentially still have Mana Leak up. So now let's go upstairs with Tibalt. See what we hit. A Spirit Guide and an Abundant Growth. Yeah, so let's go minus here. Let's go... Guess I can Abundant Growth the Misty. Because this actually lets the Misty tap for mana. Because otherwise it will not. Verdant Catacombs. I guess I should attack first. So let's attack the Time Raveler, because we can actually kill that one. And then we'll just play another 2-2. Play a 2-2 and a tap land. This has been yet another wild game. Alright. So we still both have 2 Planeswalkers. I have 2 2/2s. They have more cards than I do. Again, their cards are likely more relevant because I don't have a lot going on here. Although, now that their Raveler's gone, I can dread into another Tibalt. Worth noting. And they're down 2 Omnaths, which is pretty important. They have a 3rd Omnath. Okay. Let's see if they have Fetch Land, Uro, or Growth Spiral. Looks like they do, because they're paying costs. That would actually be pretty bad for me, because the Tibalt would go to 2. The Chandra would die. But I guess I could just Cascade into the 4th Tibalt. I have enough mana to play both. 3, 4, 5, 6... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I do not. 1 mana short of being able to Dread and Hardcast Tibalt. Assuming they force of negation the Dread half. Alright, so they're fetching for a Breeding Pool, so that's going to give them 4 mana with the Omnath. See what else they have. Okay, they do have another land. Unfortunate. So now they're going to flashback Uro. Okay. This is not ideal, as you can probably imagine. Although it's not the worst if they don't have another Force of Negation. They have Field of the Dead. Okay. Okay. Take our turn. Start by ticking up Tibalt, because we can't do anything else anyways. Renin 6 Wooded Foothills. I guess I could Valki first. Let's think about this. So remember, we don't have any fetchable lands left. Or that's not true. I have one more Blood Crypt, right? Have I gone through my second Blood Crypt? I have not. Okay, so I do have a Blood Crypt to fetch, so I can get mana with the Omnath. That actually changes the game a little bit, because now I can Cascade into a second Tibalt, exile the Omnath. So it's 1, 2, 3. Then 1, 2, 3, 4 to cast the Omnath. Land fetch, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm still 1 mana short. Okay, so let's go Demonic Dread the Uro. So then we can... Yeah, Demonic Dread the Uro so we can exile the Omnath if they don't have a counter spell. Because I want to exile the Omnath. Kind of feels like they might have another force, though. Yeah. Okay, so Uro cannot block. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1 mana short. Let's cast a Magus. Let's play a Foothills. Let's play a Wrenn. Let's tick up, I guess. Sure, that's fine. We'll pass. I mean, we're not quite dead yet, because we still have 2 more Tibalts to go. And we have a Magus in play. I mean, they could tuck the Magus, I guess, and maybe have a big field turn. But they decided to plus. So maybe they just have another removal spell for the Magus. Oh, they have a second Wrenn. I see. Okay. I see. Okay, Wrenn down. And the field is back online. Be pretty nice if I hit a field of theirs. Put force on top. Kind of think maybe this game is over. So they're attacking Tibalt, right? I would assume. They're attacking me. Wow. Oh, am I just dead? 6, 10, 12. If they have Cryptic, I'm dead, right? Tap my team, draw a card. 6. No, it's only 12. I got a 1. Oh, but they kill both my Planeswalkers. Right. I probably have no outs. So we know they have force. Huh. Bit of a weird game. I thought I was ahead for most of that game, but I'll make them cast their force. Alright, they cast their force, and tap and attack us. Not really sure where that game went wrong. I thought I was ahead for a decent portion of that, but not sure. I might be going to have to go back and watch at some point. Not sure why they're not just attacking me, but I'll let them do their thing. Okay. No blocks. Alright, game number 2. After a pretty long game 1. Alright, so we want Maelstrom Pulse, Beast Within. I've debated on bringing in Leyline of the Void in this matchup. Definitely want Magmatic Sinkhole. Leyline being good against Uro, but not really much else. It's okay against Mystic Sanctuary too, but I'm not sure if that's where you want to be. And then I was cutting Dismembers. I was shaving a Demonic Dread because, 1, they have a bunch of Teferis, and 2, they don't present a lot of creatures that you can target with this. And then, what was my last cut? Oh, I added a land to the deck, so I think you can shave a land in a matchup like this that's going to go long, and it's probably going to be a Caverns on the play. Because remember, these games are going to go super long, so you can afford to cut a land. I wanted to add a land to the deck, just for consistency in game 1s, but in matchups like this that are going to go very long, you can definitely afford to cut a land. Because the list that I was playing last night only had 24 lands. So we shall see how this goes. It's going to be a long video, huh? I might have to break this one up into multiple different videos. All right, we'll go ahead and play first. Let's see. We have a turn 2 Magus. Good enough for me. Definitely slamming Magus, especially against Force of Negation. They usually only have one Lightning Bolt in their deck. They get one Island, which is fine. Ooh. What are they casting main phase? Oh, do they have Pithing Needle in their sideboard? They might. Well, we have 3 answers to Pithing Needle. They have Abundant Growth, sure. They did show us that game 1. Makes sense. I actually kind of want this to be a red source anyways, so I'm just going to do this. And notably, Magus overrides Abundant Growth when you're in terms of layers, so this now taps for red. They may or may not have a basic land. Alright, so they have 2 mountains. They may have a bolt here, but we're going to attack first. I'm not casting... I guess I should have just outbursted main phase. I was trying to see if like I could bait something before I cast the Tibalt, but they don't have blue mana anyways, so it's possible I just missed a point of damage there. This makes them have the Force, though. If they have Force, they have Force. It's not that bad. It's a 2-for-1 for them. Yep, that's fine. You can go. Stomping Ground. Put Yoran in their hand, that's fine. Red source would be nice so I can cast Pyromancer. Black source... Not horrible, because it lets me cast Rider. Obviously there's no Rider targets now, but... You know, sure there will be at some point. Yeah, okay, there's a Cliffs. I wonder if I even want to cast this Pyromancer. They're at 11, so it's essentially a 2-turn clock. I mean... I do lose the Rider in the Sinkhole, but I think it's worth it. Alright, you can go and just kind of pressure them before they can get out from under this Magus. Alright, looks like they bricked again, so this game should be pretty easy. I don't know if they have a card like Anger of the Gods. I feel like they probably can't support Anger of the Gods. So I probably shouldn't play around it. Yeah, I'm just going to jam. I can't imagine they have Anger in their deck. Even if they do... Well, if they do, it's really bad, but... You know, they're playing a 4-color Yoran deck. I just can't imagine they can support Anger. Alright, so got a pretty easy game number 2. Again, I think this matchup is actually quite favorable, I think, just because you have 8 Blood Moons, and they can't force a negation to Magus. And, you know, they probably had Force in their hand on turn 1, but they couldn't force the Magus, and just, you know, couldn't really play Magic at that point. So, yep, same thing. We'll go ahead and submit. Actually, I just realized I'm on the draw, so I probably want the 4th Cavern instead of maybe a fetch. Or a Blackcleave Cliffs. Probably just a fetch. On the draw, I think I want all 4 Caverns, because turn 1 Moon is one of the easiest paths to victories in this matchup, for sure. I guess I could also cut a 2nd Demonic Dread on the draw. Especially against Teferi, it's pretty bad, but... And maybe that's better, actually. Maybe going down to 2 Dreads and keeping the 25th land. Might have been a little bit better. So I think this hand's actually a mulligan. Valki's not really your ideal turn 2 threat, because they have Ren and 6 anyways. And I have no fast mana. How do we feel about this hand? This hand is good. I'm going to keep and put back Valki. No Blood Moon, but potential turn to Tibalt. Let's play... I'm going to put the Fear in them. I don't think my life total matters that much. And I want them to see if they, you know, at least respect Double Spirit Guide, you know? Although I probably just would go for it into 1 mana and make them have the Force. Alright, they got basic islands, which is fine. Alright, they're going to hold up Aether Gust / Mana Leak. Alright, Blackleaf Cliffs go. I'm not going to main phase it. There's a chance I Beast within their island here. How good is that play? That play's not bad. Because it kind of baits out a counterspell and it gives me a target for Demonic Dread. It's really only truly good if I find a land, though. So I think I might wait on that. I think what I might do this turn is... Outbursts? Not sure. Are they casting Teferi? Huh. Well, if they're casting Teferi, I'm definitely going to slam a Tibalt. They're casting that. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to let that go. I thought about Beast Within the island in response, but now that they have 2 basic islands, I don't think it's particularly great. So now I'm just going to cast this. We'll end step the Tibalt. They'll probably Mana Leak it or Gust it or do something. Celestial Purge, sure. I was not thinking about Celestial Purge, but... I guess that was maybe a reason to Beast Within, but I didn't draw the land anyways, so maybe it didn't matter. Oh, now they have Teferi. Teferi would be pretty bad for me. Oh, they F6 checked me. Nice, nice. Okay. Take a land, please. I don't really have a choice. I have to do this now. It's pretty bad if they have a second Teferi, but, you know, I have to try and cast my spells, so... Okay, I've seen enough. It's really hard to beat Teferi from this point, so we're going to go ahead and pack it in. I mean, we could play out that game, but there's really no point. Yeah, I think this matchup is, like... Overall, I think it's pretty favorable, and I'd be pretty excited to play against this deck normally, but it looks like they've come prepared. They have, you know, a bunch of forces, Teferis, but when you're on the play and you have a turn 1 or turn 2 Blood Moon, they can't really do much about it, so... I don't know. I think the matchup is okay. I think we got a little unfortunate that we didn't find our 3rd land this game. But in any case, hope you enjoyed the games, and I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 4. And we're back for round number 4. We are currently 2-1. We won the die. I think this is the 4th die roll we won. I can't remember if we won our last die roll, but in any case, choose to play first. Let's see what we have. So we have 2 lands and a Spirit Guide, but we don't have a Cascade spell. Problem is, I mean, even if we miss, we still have Dismember on turn 1, Valki on turn 2, and we have the ability to cast Rider. I actually think I'm okay keeping this hand. It's, you know, we are missing a Cascade spell, but we can just play, you know, sort of normal Magic up until that point. And if we find a Violent Outburst, we probably just win on the spot. So I think I'm in on the high upside with this hand. Sacred Foundry tapped. I don't know what that is. Interesting. I was trying to think if it was burn, but I feel like if it was burn, they would almost certainly not keep a 7 without a 1-drop. I think I'm just going to slam this Blood Moon. I know that we don't have any basics now, but we do have a Chandra to cast. So we can essentially have 2 spells that we can still cast. Basically means we're never casting this, but, you know, if Blood Moon... You know, if Blood Moon shuts our opponent off from playing Magic, then I think it's worth casting there. Sort of punish when we draw the Outburst there. But as long as they're not casting spells under this Blood Moon, it should be fine. We'll eventually find a Chandra. They're discarding a Cruxa. Okay, still can't cast any spells. We have another mountain. Seasoned Pyromancer. I don't particularly want to dismember that yet. Wow, Lingering Souls, huh? Blast from the past here. Market Pyromancer. Okay, there's the forest. So let's put a Tibalt into play. And I'm definitely going to go upstairs, because if I go down, they can just kill it with the 2 elementals. Stoneforge Mystic. I definitely do not have equipment to search for. But I attack Tibalt for 4, it goes to 3. We plus it back to 5. Land, Chandra, add mana, Stoneforge, potentially. I'd like to try and hit a Lingering Souls from their deck. They already discarded 2, but they may have more. Okay, Tibalt is being attacked for 4. Makes sense. Alright, I'm definitely not minusing... Wait, am I? I guess I could just minus on their Pyromancer. And just Pyromancer away some of these uncastables. And then trade Pyromancer for these. Dismember this, take 2. And then the turn after, maybe Chandra, uptick Stoneforge, chump block. It's actually not bad. Alternatively, yeah, I think it's actually better for me to minus. Let's go... Actually want to play the Catacombs and leave up Forest. No, I want to leave myself the option of drawing exactly Swamp Spirit Guide. To play Valki, potentially. So let's do that. Let's discard the extra Blood Moon and the Murderous Rider that we're never casting. And then we'll play this land here and hold up Dismember. And then we can go block 3 elementals, dismember the Pyromancer, and then keep our Pyromancer. Yeah, that looks good, actually. Kind of just clearing the board out. It's unclear how many spells they can actually cast right now. If they find a swamp, this actually gets kind of dicey because they have 2 Lingering Souls, but... That's another reason to keep upticking Valki, but if I keep upticking Valki and I just kind of miss, then I don't have enough things in play to protect the Valki. So I think I like this better. I do have a 3rd Pyromancer, which is pretty unfortunate. Throes of Chaos, huh? Interesting. And a Lightning Bolt. Okay, so we can go Dismember a Pyromancer, block 2 elementals. Which is what I am going to do. Go to 14, go to 12. That, and they still have... Yeah, they still have a lot of power in play, but we have another Pyromancer here. So we can go Pyromancer into Stoneforge. Yeah, so let's go... Pyromancer, discard Demonic Dread Valki. Because I don't have black mana. I think that's okay. We found another Valki. Not like to use the ability. Basically, we're just trying to trade off a bunch of resources until we can eventually find another Valki. But that might give them enough time to find basic swamp to start casting these souls, in which case we're probably in trouble. I would imagine this matchup gets significantly better after sideboard when we have access to all of these and we get to cut these Blood Moons. But, you know, this is where we are for game 1. So I'm optimistic about this game, but I think we are definitely behind. If they find a swamp, we probably can't win. Or it's going to be very difficult. So they're going to Throws. Inquisition. That lets them take Pyromancer. Which is pretty bad for me. I assume they should take Pyromancer. Yep. Given that I have the 1-2 to brick the 1-1s anyways, I'm fine making this trade. Magus of the Moon. Okay, that's actually fine because I just want to make more blockers. So let's go Chandra, add mana, Magus. So I just want to have enough blockers in play to protect this Chandra. They're going to throws again, most likely. Liliana of the Veil. Okay. Edict doesn't do much. They get plus, I'll discard probably Valki. Yeah, I'll just discard this Chandra. If I find a swamp, I'd much rather just have access to the Tibalt. Guess it doesn't matter too much either way. 3, 4, 5. Can't quite cast Tibalt because I don't have a swamp. Let's go exile the top card. We hit a Gemstone Caverns. So now I can just pass, discard Valki, activate Pyromancer. I do have to worry a little bit about this Liliana. But my Chandra's going to emblem before their Liliana's going to ultimate, so it's possible that we can just do that. So I don't have to attack quite yet. If they find a Lightning Bolt, then it gets kind of tough. And I'm going to keep Demonic Dread, because if I find a swamp, I can immediately cast the Tibalt. Although now I only have one Tibalt left in my deck, which is concerning a little bit. Batter Skull. It's fine. Alright, I will take a Violent Outburst or a basic Swamp. Would be ideal. Gemstone Cavern's not quite what we're looking for. So let's uptick and see if we can hit an Outburst. No, we cannot cast that. So we will just pass. Discard the Caverns, exile the Pyromancer. Seems fine to me. And this is our third Pyromancer, right? Second Pyromancer. Okay, cool. So we still have two Pyromancers, which would not be the worst draw. Just more stuff in play. Lets us find spells because we're going to emblem the Chandra if they don't have a bolt here. They have a bolt. Things get a little dicey because then... Okay, Stoneforge I shouldn't care about. They could have a pro-red sword, though, which might be dicey. They have a second Batter Skull. Okay, I don't care about the second Batter Skull. Are they not going to use their Liliana? I will happily just jump block. Their life total is not the biggest concern of mine right now. I'll eventually kill them once I have this ultimate. I discarded the Batter Skull. Alright, ideally we're looking for Black Source or Outbursts. Slow rolled the bolt. Okay. This is bad. So now I need to... Liliana's at 6, huh? So if I minus on the Germ token, I have 6 attackers, they have 5 blockers, I can get an exactly 1 damage. And then they just get to equip the Stoneforge, eat my Chandra. I don't think that's a winning line. I think I have to plus and just try and spike Outburst, which we have 3 left. It's not an Outburst. Yeah, sure, I'll cast it. Doesn't matter too much. Alright, see if they want to choose to ultimate the Liliana. Which I imagine they will. Not sure. Yeah, them having the bolt there was the deciding point. If they didn't have bolts, I guess I didn't have a spell that I could cast, so I wouldn't have been able to pressure the Liliana anyways, because I did not have any castable spells. Very interesting. I feel like all these games have been... I think we had one game that was like, you know, early Tibalt kind of went home with it, but a lot of these games have been pretty interesting. I know a lot of people have been calling for a ban on this deck, but I hope this video maybe shows that, you know, it's not always about turn 1ing or turn 2ing a Tibalt. A lot of these games can be pretty interesting. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, do those games make up for the non-games where you just have Tibalt on turn 1, you know? But... yeah, this is a good split from them. Because I obviously have to keep my lands. Putting the moons with the lands makes sense because they know I need black mana. Yeah, okay. We're gonna move on to the next one. Again, I think a matchup like this gets a lot better after sideboarding when we get to cut these incredibly mediocre blood moons and get to play 4 Anger of the Gods, which quite good against our opponents. I think I'm just gonna do this nice and clean, even sideboard plan. I don't think I want Leyline of the Void just for Lingering Souls, especially when we're bringing in, you know, 6 clean answers to souls. So, yeah, this matchup must be a lot better after sideboarding. So, go ahead and do that. Not really much else to discuss here in terms of sideboarding. You know, we played an early Blood Moon, and our opponent can, you know, pretty easily play... I mean, they drew 3 Season Pyromancers, which are obviously one of their best cards under a Blood Moon. But, you know, the fact that they can still cast spells under a Blood Moon means that I don't really want to go towards that as my game plan. Anger of the Gods quite good against the Lingering Souls Pyromancer deck. Murderous Rider can tag an early Stoneforge Mystic or a Planeswalker if they have that. Same with Dismember for Stoneforge. Yeah. This looks like a very clean sideboarding. Not sure what they're bringing in. They might have things like Deafening Silence or, you know, Damping Sphere, Pithing Needle, things of that nature. That's why I kind of like Maelstrom Pulse. I almost just want to play a 3rd Maelstrom Pulse. But I guess it would just be the Beast Within, which is kind of acting as a 3rd Maelstrom Pulse, but it's just easier to cast when you keep in Blood Moon. Now, a lot of the times when you bring in Pulse, you do board out Blood Moon, but not all the time. I think this hand's actually kind of bad. If this was... well, I guess if this was Outburst, we couldn't even cast Outburst. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan this. We have the same problem here. This one I think I am going to keep and just put back the Rider. Just hope to spike a green source. Maybe the mana base needs some work. Opponent is mulliganing to 4. See, the thing about, like, okay, so I understand that, you know, when you play against Tibalt's Trickery, you want to mulligan as aggressively as possible to try and find Deafening Silence. This deck can actually play through a Deafening Silence and, you know, pretty effectively. It looks like they went to a discard spell. So they have to take Outburst. That is a requirement. But yeah, I've been, you know, I think this deck can play through those cards a lot better than the Trickery deck can. Like, you actually have real cards. Why did they take Dread? I can't cast Dread. Well, they got punished for that. They definitely should have taken Outburst. I don't know why they didn't take Outburst, because even if I drew a green source, I couldn't cast the Dread, because there was no creatures in play. That seems like a misstep on our opponent's part. But we take those. Not going to complain. Alright. Our opponent has had enough, so to game 3 we go. And I have a turn 1 Gemstone Caverns with 2 Cascade spells and a Pyromancer. Definitely keeping this one. Let's go Caverns, exile Blackleaf Cliffs. No, I don't have Blood Moon in my deck, so I can exile this. And there's off chance they kept in Blood Moon, but I cannot imagine they would keep in Blood Moon. Right, let's see if they take the correct one this time. Now that I have all my colors, they're obviously going to do that. I understand that their logic was that I didn't have green mana, so that, you know, they wanted to take Dread because it was the one I could cast, but in reality, I couldn't cast it because there was no creature in play. So it just made more sense to take Outburst. Let's play Cliffs. Pass. And now they cannot play a creature. Or can they? Really? Okay. I'm not sure I agree with that line. They know I have Demonic Dread. I guess they're okay with me getting a trigger. The question is, do I want a minus or plus? I think I just want a plus. So let's get a basic forest, and then we'll just go upstairs. I don't want to expose my Tibalt to a Lightning Bolt. They might have a Dreadbore, but if they have a Dreadbore, I'd rather get 2 cards out of it. So I think this makes more sense. And then next turn what I can do is just kill the Valki and play Pyromancer in the same turn. So this is pretty good. Maybe they just had nothing better to do on turn 2, and they had to play a creature there. But they knew I had the Demonic Dread, so they knew that this was going to happen. And they have nothing. So now let's go upstairs. Let's go ahead and bolt. Should actually fetch first. Let's get a basic swamp just in case of Blood Moon. Not that, again, I don't think that that's in their deck, but you never know. And I'm okay with discarding these two. With the Tibalt in play, I can kill anything regardless, so now this game should just be over. I guess they could have Dreadbore now, but outside of Dreadbore now, it's... yeah, this is not going to do it. Unless they're going to double bolt it? Okay, no, because it was at 4. Even if they double bolted, they couldn't kill it. Yeah, I mean, that was a bit of an anticlimactic. After game number 1, which I thought was kind of insane, you know, games 2 and 3 were not as interesting as our opponent mulliganed to 4 game 2 and then didn't play a third land game 3. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, once if you can play this card on turn 1 or turn 2, this is, you know, the absolute king in the mid-range mirrors. So, hope you enjoyed the games, and we got one more round left. Remember, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in just a little bit for the 5th and final round. And it's time. Round number 5. We're currently 3-1 with Tibalt Nonsense. As that's what I'm going to call it. We'll call it Tibalt Nonsense. Go ahead and choose to play first. Did we win every die roll? So this is one of those turn 3 Magus, turn 4 Tibalt hands. I'm still not sure if you want to keep these, but we do have one of each basic. Cast all of our spells. I'm going to keep it. If they play a creature, we can potentially cast Tibalt on turn 3, but I'm going to lead on Blood Crypt, because this is going to get a forest. Take a little bit less damage if that might come up. Bloodstained Mire. Okay. I could just... I could just Magus here. It's not unreasonable. I think I'm just going to do that, because I have one of each basic anyways. They get to get a basic swamp, but I think that's okay. And I have double red to cast Pyromancer anyways, so I think this is okay. So they're likely going to get a swamp here. I guess they could be playing Death Shadow. Maybe they get a Blood Crypt. unclear. They could be playing the mirror. I have played against the mirror a couple times. The mirror is quite the treat. I kind of hope they're playing the mirror, actually. The mirror is very, very interesting. They're not. Unfortunate. Hopefully they play a creature. Cling to Dust. It's not a creature. Okay, so I think what I want to do is play Pyromancer and discard the Swamp and the Valki. So I have 2 targets for Demonic Dread next turn. If I play Valki, it's very likely to just die anyways, so I don't think it really accomplishes that much. So I like this play. And now we have 2 Cascade spells if they have a discard spell, so we're covered against that. We can also play around Stubborn Denial if they don't have a 4-power creature. So I think they might be playing some kind of Death Shadow deck. Yeah, Thought Scour makes sense. So unless they could somehow put... I guess they could play an Angler. They have Angler, hold up Stubborn Denial. This could get dicey. Let's hope they don't have that. Snapcaster Thoughtseize. We have that covered. Okay, now this game should be pretty easy from here. Thoughtseizing into 2 Cascade spells. Not ideal. They don't know we have 2 Cascade spells, obviously, but... Let's just Dread. Let's cast Tibalt. I think I'm just going to go upstairs. I can't cycle this, right? No, I cannot. I think I'd rather get this Cliffs into play. And do I want to attack them for Death Shadow purposes? I mean, if they play a Death Shadow, I just have a Tibalt to exile it anyways. I think that's okay. I'm going to leave back the Elemental to trade with Snapcaster Mage. But this gets dicey if they have multiple Death Shadows. They milled over 2 Anglers. That's not ideal. Okay, they've had enough. Okay. Up a game against Grixis Death Shadow. Oh boy. Yeah, that's not the best hand. Yeah, milling over the 2 Anglers was kind of rough. So, Blood Moon is interesting in this matchup. They do have basics, but they don't... So the thing about Blood Moon is, yes, they have basics, but they don't necessarily want to fetch them early because they want to be taking damage off of Shocklands to be able to cast a Death Shadow. So I think I might keep in Blood Moon and bring out Magus because they have Lightning Bolt, and just bring in these 4 sort of hard-hitting removal spells that can kill a Death Shadow, Gurmag Angler, things like that. Yeah, this looks pretty good. Oh, you know what, actually? I wonder if Leyline of the Void is good, because it stops Angler and Snapcaster Mage. Yeah, Leyline is good, but what do I want to cut? Maybe the Beast Within in 2 Blood Moons? The Beast Within is a touch awkward, giving them a 3/3, especially... Yeah, let's try this. Going to 2 Blood Moons, I think, is okay. And I want the Dismembers, the Riders. Yeah, this looks good. Leyline of the Void has to be good against them, because it just shuts off one of their big threats. Gurmag Angler. Opponent kept 7. I don't think I want to keep a hand like this on the draw. I think on the draw we can do better, especially fast mana, things like that. This is definitely better. So I'm going to keep bottom Bloodstained Mire, and then I'm going to Caverns, exile the other Caverns. And then we'll let them do their thing. So we're likely not going to be able to cast Dread on turn 2, because they usually don't have creatures they can play on turn 1. Unless they somehow play a turn 1 Death Shadow, which would be quite good for me. It doesn't look like they're doing that, though. Looks like a Thoughtseize. Sure. So they probably take Dread. It took Spirit Guide. Interesting. Okay. I guess that makes sense. Well, oh, because they knew that the Outburst was on top, right? Because they bobbled us. That makes a lot more sense now. A lot more sense. So now they're going to play a Death Shadow with Stubborn Denial up? Is that what's happening? No, not a Death Shadow. Gurmag with Stubborn Denial up. I see. Alright, let's get a Blood Crypt. Do I want to play into Stub? I guess what I can do is end step the Outburst. The problem with saying go is if they have a Thoughtseize, they get to Thoughtseize me, then I have to cast the Outburst in response, and they just get to attack my Tibalt because it's at 5 loyalty. So I might just not have the luxury of playing around a Stubborn Denial. It's very likely they have it, but there's a chance they don't. So I think I'm just going to do it. I think I just have to do this. I don't love it, but I think I have to. They did not have Stub. That is good for me. I am going to exile their Angler. They could have Lightning Bolt, but I think this is good. We're not actually that far off of casting Angler. Thought Scour. Okay. Do they have Bolt and no red source? No, there's the red source. Alright, upstairs with Tibalt. Lots of Gurmags, huh? Oh, they've had enough. Okay. I was going to play Pyromancer, make a bunch of blockers, and... Okay, well... so a nice little 4-1. Let's go ahead and go back to the deck real quick. Oh, not this deck. It's this one, this version. Okay. So, nice little 4-1, not too bad. We ended up losing to 4-color Money Tribal. Again, I think that matchup is decent, but our draws didn't line up very well against them. But yeah, I mean, this deck is awesome. I think that I think this was a great league because you got to see kind of both halves of the spectrum. You got to see the turn 1, turn 2 Tibalt kind of, you get to see how those games play. I mean, obviously those aren't really games, but you kind of get to see the other side of the spectrum where when your opponent is interacting with you and they have a board presence, Tibalt doesn't necessarily win the game by itself. And I think this was a great league at showcasing kind of both halves of the spectrum. So I really hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I will see you in the next one.